Okay, Red Wings fans, I know what you're thinking. No, Lego, what are you doing? Raymond, Cider, where have these guys gone in the conversation? I know they're 1 and 2 pretty much in the Calder race at the moment. What this video is exploring is the idea of other players coming in and potentially being in contention status for the second runner-up, aka third, or maybe even, assuming they get onto a bigger heater, any one of the higher spots available than which are currently held by Raymond and Cider, according to most people. So let's go over the NHL's rookie point race, and I said point race again, didn't I? That's kind of what the Calder is, pretty much, but the Calder also can include players who don't necessarily get on there by scoring a whole bunch of points. If you know what I mean, then you know what I mean, and we'll get into that a little bit later into this video, but for now, we're focusing on 3 guys that, in my opinion, could be some super underrated Calder candidates, maybe second runner-ups, maybe third place guys, maybe even higher place guys, depending on how the rest of their years go. Let's not talk about Raymond Insider. Let's instead talk about Dawson Mercer of the New Jersey Devils, Trevor Zegras of the Anaheim Ducks, and Alex Nedeljkovic of the Red Wings. Now, because Nedeljkovic is the most interesting case amongst all of these players so far, let's go over the other 2 forwards first and foremost here, because these 2 guys, Zegras and Mercer, are now 3rd and 4th in NHL points for rookies on the year. They had passed Jonathan Dahlen, Michael Bunting, Cole Sillinger, Jamie Drysdale, Bowen Byram, a few other guys over there, and they've both been on absolute tears the past few games. Starting off with Dawson Mercer over here, he's 20 years old, 6 feet, 179 pounds, a right-wing, right-handed player who was drafted out of the 2020 NHL Entry Draft by the New Jersey Devils. He was taken 18th overall, and he was a guy that back in his draft season, I remember being oddly high on Dawson Mercer compared to the consensus of what other NHL primetime scouts and everything were saying. Sure, they kind of projected him mostly to go a little bit earlier, with 13 being the most consolidated ranking that he had. Craig Button actually had him at 17, which was the closest one, oddly enough, because he went 18th. But I remember really being a fan of Dawson Mercer and the combination of skill, defensive responsibility, and the motor that he possessed in the QMJHL. The next season in Chicoutimi for the Saguenay, he had himself 36 points in 23 games played, but absolutely exploded in the postseason with 17 points in 9 games to end off that campaign. He also played for Team Canada at the World Juniors, where he was under a point per game, and that was kind of the moment where a lot of Devils fans were like, okay, we've got ourselves a pretty good pickup right here. Like, Alexander Holtz was supposed to be the top guy out of the 2020 draft for the New Jersey Devils, and to be fair, he does have an extraordinarily high ceiling, but he's in Utica right now doing his thing. Meanwhile, Dawson Mercer, who had graduated from the QMJHL into the NHL right away, and who was given a role on this team, has now gone out there with 12 points in 16 games played. In fact, if you take a look at his recent point stretch, the guy's got 7 points in his most previous 6 games played, spanning back to the Florida Panthers' 7-3 win on November 9th. The New Jersey Devils have really been seeing the best out of Dawson Mercer in his young NHL career, and it's to the point where there's a reason why this guy's being given all the minutes out there. He's playing 18 minutes a night for some games, and he just really hasn't shown any signs of slowing down. As a result, his 12 points on the season are good enough for 3rd in the NHL for rookie scoring. Next up, we have ourselves out of the US NTDP, 20-year-old Trevor Zegras, 6 feet, 183. He was a 9th overall pick in the 2019 NHL Entry Draft, and he didn't actually make his debut with the team until partway through the 2020-2021 season. Now, he played a boatload of games that year, but he only played 24, and under the very specific Calder eligibility rules, Trevor Zegras, despite playing 24 games last season, is barely eligible for the trophy this year. To be eligible for the Calder Trophy, a player cannot have played more than 25 games in any single preceding season, nor in 6 or more games in each of any 2 preceding seasons in any major professional league. Beginning in 1991, a player must not have attained his 26th birthday by September 15th of the season of which he is eligible. So Trevor Zegras, had he played 1 more game last year in Anaheim, he would not have been eligible for the Calder this season. But that's okay, because he played in San Diego, he had himself a good run there, he dominated the World Juniors in 2020, or excuse me, when the heck was that World Juniors? It was 21 this year. So Trevor Zegras had 18 points in 7 games played, 7 goals, 11 assists. Like, you cannot deny the talent that Trevor Zegras possesses. His playmaking, his vision, his passing ability, his skills, it's just so elite. And as a result, it's put him in a great spotlight to succeed for the Anaheim Ducks this season. He has been started to get more playing time, and if you take a look at his point production, he had himself 6 points in his previous 4 games played, 3 points against the Vancouver Canucks, 2 points against the Washington Capitals. He's been scoring consistently lately, and it puts him at a total of 11 points in 17 games played. Now, the Anaheim Ducks have actually been pretty good this year, and Trevor Zegras is adding a rookie scoring element that you really love to see, that in which he has actually been outproducing from last season. Now, yes, Troy Terry and Getzlaf and Henrique, these guys have been carrying the squad, but depth scorers like Trevor Zegras and Sonny Milano and Isaac Lundstrom, everybody is getting involved here, and it's awesome to see for Anaheim. If Trevor Zegras continues this pace, and if he actually starts to get a little bit more comfortable, I do believe that Zegras has a point-per-game season within him sometime in the next 2 to 3 years. It's going to take some time to get there, but it wouldn't surprise me if that sort of stint came out of him as soon as this year or next year, because this guy is just so polished, and he thinks the game so well. Now on to our last underdog Calder candidate right here. Let's go over back to Detroit and not talk about Raymond or talk about Seider. Let's talk instead about the goalie, Alex Nedeljkovic. Now, Alex Nedeljkovic is a crazy story because you might actually remember, in last year's Calder Memorial Trophy, he was the second runner-up. He was third behind Jason Robertson of the Stars and Kirill Kaprizov of the Wild. However, in his Calder-eligible and Calder-nominated season, Nedeljkovic for the Hurricanes only played 23 games. That, in theory, makes him eligible to be nominated again this year because the cutoff is 25 games played in a prior year. Also, you have the other rule where an NHL player cannot play in 6 or more games in each of any 2 preseason seasons. If you take a look at that, Nedeljkovic in his 2 years ago year had 4 games played. So he's eligible still. He fulfills all the requirements, nor has he reached his 26th birthday either. So, by definition, he should be able to participate in the voting this year. He's got himself a .914 save percentage and a .283 goals against in 12 games played so far with the Wings. Sure, it's a drop-off from what he had in Carolina, but come on. Carolina to Detroit, you can understand why a goaltender save percentage would go down under these circumstances. But still, it's not like a .914 is bad. In fact, that's pretty good. And if you go to the NHL and you see where Nedeljkovic lies in the rest of the league's goaltending ability, he's got the 17th highest save percentage in the entire league, which isn't a bad thing. So I'm not going to say that it's actually going to happen because Nedeljkovic last season put up a season where he was just astronomically good, which is why he even made it to 3rd place on the ballot. If he's going to want to get himself another Calder spot this year or another Calder nomination this year, he's going to have to start putting the lights out and just keeping them off, because the resume for other players to get onto the Calder ballot is really easy. Just score points and get a lot of assists, get a lot of goals, just put your name out there on the score sheet. And NHL voters will more often than not just vote on your name because you have a lot of points. For Nedeljkovic, for goaltenders in general, it's a little bit more difficult because you can't get points. You have to get wins. You have to get save percentages that supersede other NHL goaltenders who are far away from being rookies and considered by people to being very good. So if you're a Devils fan, if you're a Ducks fan, or if you're a Red Wings fan, let me know in the comments what do you think about Dawson Mercer, Trevor Zegras, and Alex Nedeljkovic, whether or not any of these guys could actually overtake a Raymond or a Seider in the rookie scoring race, or not scoring race, the Calder race. I should start referring to it as that more because goaltenders, Nedeljkovic can't really get points, so let me know in the comments all your thoughts. Do you think these guys have a shot at the 3rd spot, so the 2nd runner-up spot in the Calder nominations, or do you think somebody else deserves that instead? Okay, wait for Bowen Byram to get back and then see what he's going to do. Okay, we still have Michael Bunting, who is going to heat up on Toronto. We still have Jonathan Dahlen, who has more to show off for the San Jose Sharks. Let me know in the comments all your thoughts about these guys. I hope you enjoyed this particular Astros 99, and bye.